All right, my apologies on that. I was having trouble with the password. Give this a couple seconds, and we are live on YouTube, and we are streaming on Zoom. Again, I apologize for the delay.
Are we ready to call it to order then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I hereby call the Rockbridge County Planning Commission September 13th, 2023 meeting to order. We'll begin with a roll call. Commission Member Hennis here. Commission Member Kramer.
Here.
Commission Member Lucas. Not here. Commission Member Whitmore.
Here.
Commission Member Watkins. Not here. In addition to citizens attending the meeting in person, citizens have several options to view or participate in the Zoom meeting webinar as described below. We will do our best to take citizen comment remotely. There are two options for citizens to offer comment. One, to join the Rockbridge County Planning Commission Zoom webinar. The link is available on the county website to copy into the address line on your browser. Two, to join by telephone. You may dial into one of the numbers listed on the county website. Webinar ID and password are there for your convenience. Citizens wishing to simply view the meeting live or after the fact can do so on the Rockbridge County Planning Commission YouTube channel, also available on the county website. If you wish to make a citizen comment on a Zoom meeting as a Zoom meeting participant, you will use the raise your hand feature. You can press the raise hand button on the bottom of your Zoom window or press *9 if you are calling in by telephone. At this time, we will proceed with the meeting and we will begin with citizen comments. Do we have anyone physically present to speak?
No, ma'am.
And do we have anyone who wishes to make a comment via Zoom or phone?
We do not.
Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the August 9th, 2023 meeting minutes. Does anybody have any changes to those?
Nope.
Okay,
Nope.
look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve as submitted. A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the motion passes. Next, we're up for board reports. Mr. Sladen.
I apologize, I'm not prepared for this one. There was no public hearings at the Board of Supervisors. We did not have a TCO. We did not have a BZA. So that was
No board meetings.
yes,
So no
that-
board report.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Item number 5, Rockbridge County, 150 South Main Street, Lexington, Virginia, 24450. Application for a zoning text amendment to modify section 603B.00 to provide for licensed preschool / child care center as a use by special exception in the agricultural transition AT zoning district. We have a staff and applicant presentation.
Yeah, in this case, the staff is the applicant essentially. As you know, at the August 9th, 2023 meeting, the Planning Commission discussed and directed the Office of Community Development staff to advertise for a public hearing to modify section 603B of the land development regulations to provide for licensed preschool and child care center as a use by special exception in the agricultural and transitional zoning district, AT zoning district. Per section 302 of the regulations, a child care center is defined as, quote, any facility operated for the purpose of providing care, protection, and guidance to a group of children separated from their parents or guardians during a part of the day only, and meeting license requirements for child care centers of section 63.2-1701 of the Code of Virginia as amended. So oddly enough, when we started this process, I think I reported last month, we have two people currently interested in doing childcare in the agricultural transitional zoning district. This is aside from your in-home childcare that state law provides for 4 or less children in a home setting. This is more of a traditional, 9 to 5 childcare type thing in a business setting, I should say. With that being said, ironically enough, when we started this process, we found out that childcare centers are a use by, or licensed preschool and childcare center, I should say, are a use by special exception in the A2 zoning district, of course, the agricultural and general use, but we don't have those same provisions in the AT zoning district. Looking at it, it actually probably makes more sense vice versa. That'd be a use by special exception in the AT zoning district and then not provided for in the A2 district. So the purpose of this zoning text amendment, of course, you have the draft language in your order or in your package. It was a very easy draft amendment. It's already defined as we reviewed. So staff has advertised accordingly. And provided for 603B.03-21 in red in your package that is a licensed preschool or child care center. So the purpose of this is to hold public comment, receive any feedback, and if there's consensus, the commission make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors.
Okay. At this time, we're going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here physically that would like to speak?
No, ma'am. Well, yes, I'm sorry. I apologize. There is a
Me
citizen here.
too.
So are you taking it out of the A2?
No, we are not taking it out of the A2. This proposal is only adding it to the AT. It will still remain as A2. Just more options.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyone via Zoom or telephone?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I think at this point, we are going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. Do you have any questions of him? It's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Seems like we're just trying to get everything to line up. So
Makes sense.
I believe we need to make a motion. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
The motion to recommend approval as submitted.
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So now does it go to the Board of Supervisors?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. Making a recommendation to the board of
You have to, I mean, do they again have an opportunity for citizens to comment there?
Yes. And so ironically enough, this is the first month that we had to do this. State law changed in July 1st, 2023, that we used to be able to do joint public hearings. Well, pretty much 11 out of 12 months a year, we were able to advertise for the planning commission for this public hearing. And at that same advertisement, do an advertisement at the board level. State law changed as far as the number of days from the first advertisement to the public hearing. And so
Too many.
it was yesterday was the first time I had to do a separate public hearing notice for the board. Of course, in this case, there's no adjoining notification because there's no adjoiners countywide, but yes, it's an advertised public hearing at the Board of Supervisors on the 25th at 6 o'clock.
We are going on to agenda item 6, Stella Jones Corporation, 9223 Murray River Road, Goshen, Virginia, 24439. We are doing a commercial site plan review.
Yes, and then Russ Orson here is representing the project. You have a brief agenda item in your package, and then a couple site maps. One, the first site map we have is, apologize, 1 second. The first one is showing the property. The property is located essentially at the southern intersection of Maury River Road and Bratton's Run. They do own property on the north side of Maury River Road as well, outlined in orange. The majority, as you can see on this particular map, the majority of the property is in Zone A, unengineered 100-year flood zone. The location of the building, we'll get more particulars when Mr. Orsi gets up here, but it's located in this general area here, is located in the floodplain. It's my understanding that commercial buildings, unlike single-family dwellings, do not have to be elevated, but rather flood-proof. They do have the option of elevating it, but rather flood-proofed as well. The second map you have is the exact same map, of course, just without the floodplain. You have a written description of plans explaining the proposed use as a 6,300 square foot, essentially multi-use building, but I'll let Russ get into that. And then the site plan itself. With no further ado, I will have Mr. Orson, turn the floor over to Mr. Orson. And I think page 3, probably the best one.
Probably so. Did you put the floor plan in the back?
I did not put the floor
That's
plan
fine,
in
that's
there.
fine.
We do have elevations, and I have them available. We do have elevations of the building and proposed floor plans. Of course, unlike the TCO, we don't get into elevation, so
Yeah.
I did not include that.
Yeah. It's not important, it just shows what they're doing inside the building. And actually, we're above the floodplain. We went ahead and did a LOMA and determined, and if you look at your narrative, just that little paragraph, I think it's got everything that I could think of to say about what we've done and what we're doing. So if you looked at that little paragraph, I think you're about as up to speed as I can get you. It's in the same location as the existing office building. I don't know how old that building is, but it's certainly showing its age, and they just want to modernize it and get it upfitted for the personnel that they have now.
Where they're putting it is where the septic system is right now.
The septic system is actually downstream, just the septic tanks are right there. So we're gonna have to move the septic tanks, but it'll still go to the existing septic system that was approved for 875 gallons per day, which is more than what this facility will do. So we just move the tanks and use the field.
Where does it sit in on the floodway? Is it north of the railroad or?
I can pull that back up on this one.
Yeah,
It
but
is-
so the flood maps are showing, the non-detailed study. So when you have a non-detailed study, in order to determine the floodplain elevation, we file a LOMA or a letter of map amendment for an area. So we've done that for this. And it turns out that when they do the detailed study, we're above the floodplain elevation. So even though it's in the mapped, non-detailed floodplain elevation wise, we are not in the floodplain.
Any other questions for Mr. Orson? Thank you.
Simple.
Okay, this is, yeah, pretty simple and straightforward.
Yep.
Lots of information in here. Any discussion here? Or?
But the company's doing well, I guess. These improvements, so.
They seem to, they're very nice to work with. So we're happy to see them doing well.
Ready for a motion?
I make a motion to recommend approval of the site plan as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
And in this particular case, I apologize, I had draft motions prepared for the zoning text amendment, but I do not have draft motions prepared for this one. In this case, y'all do have full-blown site plan approval. So just to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are on to number 7, solar ordinance discussion.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you. So we have, we've talked about this for quite some time. Mr. Meek has done some additional research on what other localities are doing. And we've pretty much, staff has come to the conclusion that we should, well, with others, obviously, input, that we should start follow up on the discussion of a solar ordinance. I've had a lot of individual conversations with members of the planning commission, members of the board, and I'm not sure we're going to get to a point where we have defined setbacks or we have defined landscaping buffers. We really, as we go through the process, we realize how important the special exception process is and how unique each solar development field is, just like most special exceptions, I should say. But with that being said, staff would like to focus on essentially the minimum requirements that are put forward, by ordinance, really have essentially a more refined definition of a solar field, community scale, large scale, residential scale, that type of thing. And then it's always, in my opinion, it's always going to be a special exception in the agricultural zones. The only zoning district that we have public utilities as a permitted use currently, which would be solar fields, is the industrial zoning district. So we're confident that will still be there. But we would like to talk with y'all, and whether y'all would just want to put it on the next agenda or have a work session. We have done that one time before. Of course, we are growing in the numbers of staff, and we're getting our feet under us, if we will. I just would like to continue that discussion. And again, I'm not sure we'll get to the point where we have, there's other localities we've looked at that are doing maximum aggregate caps. There's other localities that are doing, you have one solar field and you can't do, it prohibits other solar fields within a certain geographical area. I'm not sure the discussion will get that far this time, but there would be benefits to have, again, minimum requirements for making an application. And I think, I will, essentially pat ourselves on the back. I think staff does do an excellent example on that. And we do have 2 pending solar applications. I think they're both going to come through the planning commission cycle next month. Of course, I let y'all know we did have one that was supposed to be on this month down in the Gilmore's Mill area in the Natural Bridge area. David Whitmore and staff met on site, and there were some geographical features that we thought that needed to be identified or the plan modified accordingly, a sinkhole. And then we also noticed the site distance and the proposed location was not optimal, to say the least. And so we sort of felt like it was similar to another project that the beginning of it wasn't a very solid plan, but the end of it was a better plan. So essentially, at staff's recommendation, we said, you have the ability to withdraw the application, work on these things that we have identified, and come back next month. So that's what the one in Natural Bridge area decided to do. We have another one in the Rafine area, Steele's Fort Morris Trail area, that we had a great opportunity to meet with them on site and discuss the same features. And so I think they'll have a solid plan moving forward. So with that being said, we just wanted to, put it on the agenda, bring, what we were thinking forward and just have a general discussion.
I really like the idea of a work session because I just feel like you can get into it. You can look at the different things, instead of wasting a lot of time up here talking about that way. You can really get into it and look at the same things that Nicholas is looking at.
Make a motion to do that.
And we could do it at the beginning of the meeting last time. I believe what we did last time was at like 4 o'clock,
Early,
a 4 o'clock work session. That will give us, we could plan 4 to 6 hour break, or if we run right into the meeting, we run right in the meeting. Maybe we'll grab pizzas Wednesday. There's cheap
Right.
pizzas around.
Sure.
So with that being said, we could certainly, do we need a motion to do a work session for next month or just a consensus of the commission? Okay, we could certainly plan on that, and we will, part of that, sorry, go ahead.
It's not part of your regular meeting schedule, though, so you'll still have to do a notice of meeting.
Okay, perfect. And it's always easier to say this now than it is, 2 weeks before the meeting, but I think we could have something, we'll definitely have material prepared for y'all as far as more detail of what we're thinking.
I agree. That's what I would direct staff to go ahead and schedule, a 4 o'clock work session prior to the next month's meeting.
The next regularly scheduled meeting. Perfect. We
Sounds
can do
great.
that.
Okay.
And we'll share information along the way. How about that? And I am still interested. I'm not saying that we're not going to get a committee together, but there has been discussion of a committee. And I'm still interested in, having others. Obviously, it's a very public process. So we'll see where that goes.
Thank you. Next, we are on to agenda item 8, comprehensive plan update.
Yeah, this is a very brief update, and I'll take the floor first. And if Vivica has anything to add, I'll turn the floor over to her as always with the comp plan. So we have the Board of Supervisors has agreed or finalized the agreement with the Central Shenandoah Planning District for the transportation chapter. As always, Vivica has done a tremendous job. We're probably about 90% done with the community facilities. We have a couple lingering issues with the community facilities chapter. Got with different agencies, but at the beginning of the community facilities chapter, I certainly didn't realize how far reaching it was. I mean, I guarantee it be because organized and reached out to 20 plus organizations and in-house and out of the, in the community. So we have about 10% of that. And then the largest chapter, the most public chapter that I've always said is the land use plan. So I'm not saying we'll piggyback off a work session, but we definitely want to have a work session with y'all in the very near future. Our goal still is to do it, to finalize at the beginning of the year. That was easier said and that was easier to say in, February, March of this year, but we're still plugging away as always. And whether it be between now and December or the first quarter of the next year, we'll have it done type thing. So that was essentially a brief review on that.
Thank you. And agenda item 9 is community development committee update.
Yes, on August 21st of last month, the Community Development Committee met. And most of the discussion was a lot of the discussion was the zoning text amendment tonight. We did talk about that and what was coming through the Board of Supervisors. We talked about the recent state law change and then a fair amount of discussion on solar. I think we sort of wrapped it up on having the idea of the work session, coming back to the Planning Commission, gave a few details on the Natural Bridge project, that type of thing. But I didn't know if Mr. Kramer had anything to add. It was
No, I thought it was very interesting and a good path to follow.
yes. And I have found it, I will say I have found it extremely beneficial for us to do. With that being said, I'm uncertain on the Walker's Creek representative, on the Planning Commission's future with the Planning Commission or the Community Development Committee. With that being said, we might start reaching out to essentially y'all to see who wants to fill that position or potentially.
I talked with board member Ayers, who was my cousin, and I was saying, I really had wanted to sit in on some of those, but it was, because the two of them were on there, but she's like, oh no, I think you can come, pretty much you'd be okay with that. So
As long as it's two of us, yeah.
Yeah.
They're obviously the three or more talking about county business is problematic without a call meeting, but absolutely. I mean, we could, I think.
said those have been really helpful for her because, just feeling like what's going on both ways.
Yes, no, I agree. I really do. I think it's been extremely beneficial and it has a lot of, it's obviously less formal than a public meeting, but the dialogue has been great.
Okay, thank you. And do we have any other items that we need to address?
Not that I know of. I will say next month we have we won't be getting done at 7:30 next month. Let's put it that way. It's gonna be an early meeting and going into the later. Yeah, I can't remember what we're up to, but at least, we're up to, I think, 6 public hearings already, two solar fields. We do have a Dominion application coming down the pipeline on one particular project. It's a Dominion staging area, a heliport, and development in the floodway, all on one property. That has to do with the recent transmission rebuild from the Balcony Down substation to somewhere in Amherst.
Bedford.
Somewhere in Bedford. And so they needed a place that they could have a helicopter to help carry and set the poles. And so that will be 3 public hearings. And then I know of 2 solar developments that will be coming through the pipeline as well during the
We just had
October
them
cycle.
digging a hole out in front of our office and they went right through the fiber line.
Oh,
I
wow.
said, do you
Oh.
guys not have to mark the lines? And they said, well, they were marked, but like 2 weeks ago.
That's expensive. I do know that. Yes.
I mean, it makes it a little hard to do business.
Yeah,
that's
that
for
as
sure.
well. Yes.
Great. Is there any limit to how many public hearings we can have in any one meeting? I mean, if we get to 6, like, is that kind of, okay, you got to push to the next month or?
I think no. I mean, I don't think we have the ability to postpone essentially. When we deem an application complete, we give it to the planning commission. Obviously, y'all have 30 days to act on it, but you know, we do try to field them accordingly. Let's put it that way. So, and I have joked around with the applicants, you know, that sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's not, you know, depending on, and it really depends on what the topic is, if you will. So I'm not expecting any more. And in fact, today was the deadline, or no, I'm sorry, Friday's the deadline. Couple more percolating that could come to fruition, but I'm not expecting any more. So hopefully 6 will be our cap.
Okay, thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Of the great
Thank
meeting.
you.
Perfect. Yes, we'll get this